Hi,
Carolin.
Sabine.
Nice to meet you finally.
Hi, Sabine. Nice to meet you too.
Is it Caro or Carolin?
Yeah, my name is Caro Beil. I really like Caro. Yeah, I'm a chemist by training, and I work here at the Bergkamen site. I joined Beil very recently last year, and I'm the local complaint manager here in Bergkamen. So I'm responsible for all complaints, returns, recalls regarding our active pharmaceutical ingredients, which we produce here on site.
And I hope we don't have too many recalls at least.
Yeah, no, not so many. Yeah, and you, what are you doing with Beil?
Just one clarifying question. So you came right out of studies, right from university to Bayer?
No, I have indeed 1 year experience in the pharmaceutical industry in Switzerland after my PhD, and then I joined last year.
Cool. Yeah, then welcome to Bayer. I'm with Beil for 4.5, almost 5 years now. I'm working also in the quality department with pharma product supply. But when I joined almost 5 years ago, we were in a corporate function, right, reporting to the board of management. And with the restructuring over the past years, and we got merged with pharma and with product supply. So that's my current role. I'm responsible here for the Quality Academy. So we're taking care of all the trainings for all the quality departments, the local functions, the regional functions globally at Bayer.
Okay, and can you tell me what you like especially about your working days?
I really like creating trainings. I enjoy developing things that are useful for the organization and where people can develop themselves and can help themselves. And I really enjoy the global outlook. I've been working in local or regional functions before I joined Bayer, and now having a global outlook is quite cool. You know, I get contacted just yesterday. I had a call with someone from South America. Next week, we're talking to someone from Indonesia, always trying to figure out what time zone suits best or what time slot suits best with all the busy calendars and the different time zones. So it's a challenge, but it's really, really fun also to learn from the different cultures, and especially during the pandemic. And we exchanged a lot. Hey, how's it going in your country? What are you doing to fight against COVID? And how's the home office situation in the different sites? Quite interesting to also learn this just, in a normal flow.
Yeah, so as a complaint manager, I think to be honest, it's very difficult to do it only from home because whenever I call in the production unit, there is something going wrong. So we have a quality defect or any issue with the customer. And for me, it's really better to be on site, to go into the production unit, to talk directly to my colleagues, find a solution. Maybe, for starting the investigation in production unit, it's always better to have a closer contact to the colleagues. But of course, I can really see how my tasks are in the week, and I can freely choose as I want to work from home or on site. But as you know, so I prefer working on site most of the time. And you?
Oh, that's interesting. I prefer working from home, I must say.
Okay.
And I'm very happy with all the changes due to the pandemic situation.
Yeah.
So I'm personally very glad working from home. But we just got back to the office 1 day per week, and I think it's important to at least meet the people once a week. I think that's, it depends on the department. For some departments, it might be too few. But as I said, working in a global function, many of my stakeholders are anyway in all the different sites. So it's okay to not be in the office most of the times. But it's also important to catch up with the team. And there are 4 of us in the Quality Academy. So it's good to finally connect in person. And it's easier to exchange knowledge. It's easier to collaborate at some point of time if you see each other or meet each other, at the coffee machine, the typical way of meeting people
Yeah.
in the office is the kitchen. So it's quite good being back in the office at least a day a week. What is it that you really like about your job?
So that's a good question because as a complaint manager, every complaint which reaches us is very different. So it's always exciting. Whenever I got a mail on my inbox, my adrenaline rises and I feel excited and I like to start the investigations, and it's like a detective work. So we always go and look for the root cause. I get contacts all over the site. I'm in contact with the production unit, with the warehouse, with quality control, and I'm very good connected to find a solution for the problem. And in the end, maybe we can improve our processes to avoid such complaints in future. So it's always a great teamwork, finding out the root cause and maybe defining measures. That's really cool, and I like it very much about my job.
But I would say quite broad, and you do have a lot of stakeholders.
And in the end, presenting solutions to our customers and ultimately for stable patient care. That's a super motivation. Yeah.
Health for all, hunger for none. And why did you join Bayer? I mean, there are a lot of other pharma companies out there that you could have worked for, but what was it that you think Bayer would be the right employer for me?
Yeah, that's really true. So during my PhD, I did organic synthesis and research regarding cell imaging agents. And it was always like, okay, every piece of research is important. But of course, if you work in a pharmaceutical company, you directly see how you can affect patients' lives. And that was for sure a dream, working in a huge pharmaceutical company. And I always heard about this, the Beil family. And it was always like, okay, it's a Bayer family and it's such a great company. And then when I started on my first day, I made a LinkedIn post, right? And I just said, okay, I have a new position and I work for Bayer now and I'm looking forward to the new role. And I got a comment from colleagues, very many comments from colleagues from my site, and they come all very warm, welcoming me and saying, hey, if you're here on site, let's meet for lunch and let's have a coffee break or get to know each other. And really, I could find many friends since then. And now I understand what they all meant when saying, it's a Bayer family. So that's really a thing. Maybe it's different for such a production site. I'm not sure if you feel this the same in a global function.
It is the same.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I was really surprised, and I can totally relate to this. I think being Team Bayer is pretty cool and pretty nice. I did not expect it, to be fairly honest, when I joined Bayer, and I was surprised to have so many great and only great colleagues. I'm looking for, when I started, I looked for people that are, not that nice. I couldn't believe it. So it's really, as you said, it's a family. And also in the corporate functions, I was really warmly welcomed from day one and already, very well accepted right from the start. And it's a great sense of belonging to Team Bayer. It's a great collaboration among all the different functions and departments. And we're all kind of sitting in the same boat and delivering the same results. And it feels good being part of it.
Yeah. So I always imagined Bayer, of course, as a well-recognized company. So I had an image in my head that co-workers are all very serious and formal. And of course they are regarding their working task, but they are also very open and you can build up personal relationships. You can have fun together. That's really cool also about Team Bayer.
Yeah. And it's, as we're going to lunch, you're kind of forced going with your colleagues. But that's okay, spending also the lunch break with the colleagues. I was working in another company before, and we were right in the center of the town. So you would have lunch with many different people, or, would use the lunch break for doing grocery shopping or something like this. But here at Bayer, I really enjoy going to lunch break with all my colleagues and talking also to them on a private basis, because we all have a great relationship with each other. And in the here in the headquarter in Leverkusen, it kind of feels like a really small village. You always see the same people over and over again. It is amazing. We're such a huge company, but there are some faces that you familiarize with very fast and that you see in all the various different activities over and over again. And this is what really fascinates me, having, more than 100,000 employees, but there's so many, and it's already, you create a network very fast, and this network then expands also very fast, and then it's always the same people or that you meet during the different activities, during the different projects. And now I have a new face in my network from back home, and that's nice.
So talking about networks, are you in such Beil networks like Young Beil or Grow or any of these?
I'm actually, yes, I'm part of the Young Beil community, which is the business resource group for all generational aspects, especially the young people voice. I'm quite active there, and I'm also active at Grow, which is the business resource group for women's advancement, so growing representation and opportunities for women. I'm leading the community outreach for Germany, and I'm also co-lead for Leverkusen at Grow.
Oh, that's really cool because I'm active actually in the Bergkamen Grow group, so in the women's network in Bergkamen, and I really like the opportunity to get so many new connections right at the beginning. I joined the site in October, and I was at the women's lunches in the next month, and really found so many connections there, and it's great. It's a great opportunity.
Yeah. By the way, they're looking for a new lead, for a new co-lead in Bergkamen. Just as a side note.
Maybe.
Bergkamen is really active. It's great to see what they're delivering and doing for the site, and organizing the different lunches. And I also heard that they're doing coaching sessions with the network. I think that's a great opportunity. And when I think about it, that people are doing it voluntarily and on top to their regular job just because they think it's important for them and for the organization. So it's great to meet a fellow active member. You might hear my son out there. He's at home currently, and he's now playing with his grandmother, and they're now playing with the car toys, I guess. So if you hear some very loud sounds, that's my son right next door.
Yeah, don't worry, that's fine. So you're now working 5 years with Beil. What was the best tip you have ever received maybe from your colleagues for your professional life?
Create a network. And it's a network that brings you forward and that helps you with the career. Yeah, I never experienced it that much in other companies. But of course, I mean, you always hear it in every single article. A network is important and invest time in your network. But there, they really want to talk in this case. So if you want to advance in your career, you need to know people. And you need to find mentors or even sponsors if it's possible. And also, it's helpful to learn from your network about the other functions. What are they doing? What are they delivering? What is their day-to-day job? And where are positions that, where there could be some fluctuation that could be something good for you or relevant for you. So the network really helps when you want to make a career at Beil. And that's also kind of a drawback. So if you don't have a network, it's quite tough because then you're just by yourself and you really need to find and apply for open positions, when there's already some network going on. So something which is good on the one side, but hard on the other side. But I guess you don't plan any next step already.
I'm now here for 1 year, and I know that there is much to discover at Beil, and we have colleagues all over the world in innovative projects, and I hope to discover a lot more. I'm looking forward to short-term assignments abroad in the future and meet more great people. But I think that Team Beil maybe has many skills and a huge knowledge, but we have to find a way to share it very greatly. So I would like to continue to learn from this, but it's a little bit too early for me right now. But I think you should keep it in mind where you want to go further. So these are my future plans then.
Yeah, STA is a great opportunity. So the short-term assignment, but also the long-term assignments are great programs at Beil to not only exchange knowledge, but also to dive deeper into a function, an organization, learn how they are doing things, and then bringing back the knowledge to your organization. It's fantastic. And it's also a great opportunity if you want to go abroad somewhere. You would be eager going abroad then, or would you do an STA, I don't know, in the headquarter in Leverkusen?
No, I would definitely like to go abroad for this. That would be great, yeah. So during my PhD, I stayed in southern Germany, and I had 1 year in Switzerland and in another pharmaceutical company. But I really think that Bayer has so many interesting sites, and even in our active pharmaceutical ingredients network, we have 4 production sites, and it would be great to meet the colleagues from the other sites in Mexico or Spain.
Where's the fourth one? Mexico, Spain?
And 2 in Germany, and it's Elberfeld and Beckham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So how's your Spanish?
Not yet established. But maybe that's a reason to start learning.
Yeah, we do have great learning possibilities also at Bayer, also for language training.
Great.
So I do have quite good insights into the trainings. As I do trainings at Bayer. And that's what also really impresses me is that Bayer invests so much into the development of their people and that they offer so many different trainings on all the various different topics, whether if it's soft skills, whether if it's functional skills or, language skills.
Yeah.
So start practicing the Spanish and maybe the next short-term assignment might be just around the corner.
Great advice. Cool, yeah.
Is there anything that you're not so happy with at Bayer, to be really honest? Something that you would change if you were, let's say, the CEO of the company?
So I think, as I said, we have so many experts at Bayer and so many knowledge. And I think sometimes we do not know what we know, and we are looking for the right person who has the answer. So I feel it sometimes when I have a new problem and a new complaint about a quality defect, and then we start thinking, okay, who could be the right person to ask now for this problem? And of course, you have to create a network and you have to get to know the people. But sometimes, of course, you cannot know everyone. So it might be a good idea to think about how can we get the information, who is the right expert for this question.
That's a good point. As we are in a corporate function and we're really trying to establish a good relationship with the sites and with the local functions, because they do have all the knowledge, we do have all the knowledge, we need to bring it together. It is really difficult. And I have no clue, I still don't know why this is, but we're kind of working in silos at Bayer. That is 100% true. But I think we all are aware of it. So that's a good first step into the right direction. So yeah, creating, those or doing a short-term assignment definitely helps. Having a good network helps to overcome these silos. Yeah.
I once tried to find the right expert and just go on my own and looked for my counterpart in different sites and just checked their informations and their knowledge and how do they handle processes at their site. And then we can just combine our knowledge and share it. And this helps us and brings us all further. But yeah, you just have to take the phone and ask. And this is not always so easy for everyone, right?
Yeah, true. But that would be a good opportunity to actually create and start up a small community of people working with the complaints in the different sites, bring them all together. And that's something that I actually really like at Bayer is that you are really encouraged of developing and starting things like as if you're a small entrepreneur within the company. If you have an idea and you think it could be of value for the company, you're free to do it. Of course, I mean, if it's an investment of hundreds of thousands of euros, not that easy. But most of the times, if you think a network, a community would be of value or doing that project, doing this, you're free to do it. I really enjoy this freedom of doing things. So why not creating a community with the complaint managers and then having regular exchanges, I don't know, once a quarter or something. And don't forget to involve the global function.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, but this is exactly the point. When I started with Beil and I got my training plan and I got to know all the processes, I recognized, okay, at some points the processes might be optimized, or we can make these form sheets digital, or some points which I would like to change. And I was like, I'm just here for 1 week. Should I say this? And then I just asked, and everyone was like, wow, that's a great idea. Good that you came with an open mind and just looked from outside into our processes. And everyone is very open. If you find something, if you want to change a process, if you make it easier. And this is what I really appreciated, to really could make a change, even if I was very, very new in the group and in the team.
Right to hear.
So what do you wish for in the future? What are your plans?
In terms of if I were what I would like to change, or where I would like to go?
Where would you like to go, actually?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I would aim for a function that not yet exists, to be really honest. I have very deep insights into trainings, and that's also kind of my focus in my career. And what I found is that we do have a lot of functional academies at Beil, again, here working in the silos, and they're all doing trainings. And I think it could become a bit more streamlined and unified. So that's what I would do and would like to work on. When you think about sales skills, for example, it doesn't really matter if you sell a product to a doctor or to a farmer or to a pharmacist. It doesn't really matter in terms of the sales skills, or if you need to approach a new account. It's always the same how you would do it. Of course, the arguments differ from crop science to pharma, but the way to sell is similar. And we could learn more from each other, and we could streamline and kind of develop a way of Beil selling something, or the way of doing marketing. I mean, the concepts are all the same, and this could be unified. So I think I would do a position to really streamline all the functional academies at Beil and all the training functions at Beil. But this position does not yet exist, so
that's a great idea. Cool. That's a great plan for the future, for you and for the company. That's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah, well, a long way to go.
Yeah. But I really have the training phase very, very good in mind, because I was very surprised how much time every colleague took for me and really loved to explain their special topic. When I came to Beil, I had tours around the plants, the production plants. I met so many colleagues, and they all loved to explain their special topics to me. And this was the best way to get an introduction to the new role and to the company.
And it also shows how much Beil invests into its people. I mean, taking time for training, that costs time, resources. So it's great to see how Beil really cares for its employees and really takes care of a good onboarding. So were there any things that you expected, how Beil is, and then you started and then it was totally different than you expected?
I had in mind many, many experts walking around, having large knowledge and all very, very confident. And when I came here, I thought, okay, they are all normal people and they all have questions in their mind. And you can never really stop questioning something. And this was very, very good for me to know, because in my first meetings, I was the one with least experiences. And I was always like, should I ask this question or not? You feel like maybe everyone knows. But then I was like, okay, no, maybe it's just a different view on the topic for everyone else if I ask. So I learned very quickly that questions are very, very welcomed, and no one is almighty and have all the knowledge, but we have to discuss together the topics and then we find the right solution. So this was very good to know after a few weeks when I joined Beil. But no, actually, as I said, I thought Beil is a very huge, well-recognized company. I know everyone must be very formal and serious, but in the end, no, it's just normal people. They like to make fun. You can go to lunch for lunch together, you can have nice meetings and make friends easily. So this was very different from what I thought.
How many people are working in Backhamen? Do you know that?
1,500. Yeah.
Oh, wow. But wow, that's actually quite big. I didn't expect
Yeah, we
it.
are the largest API, so the largest production site for active pharmaceutical ingredients. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. I had a similar picture in my mind when I started at Bayer, or before I started at Bayer. I also thought, oh my God, there are all those serious people. And I imagined Bayer to be also quite old school, as if they lived still in the past. And I was surprised then to learn that the Bayer, yes, does have these functions, where digitalization is not such a big word. But on the other hand, we have all those great initiatives where we are really on the forefront of innovation, of digitalization, where we also dare to experiment, to innovate. I mean, it's also always comes with a certain risk, and Bayer is willing to take this risk for some projects. And I was surprised to learn of all these great initiatives that we have. And it didn't really fit with what I had in mind. But yes, of course, I mean, it's not all green, and not only the green grass here. So we definitely could digitalize, automate more to become more efficient. But we're not as bad as I thought.
Yes, that's definitely fits to my experience, because Bergkamen is really a traditional site for contrast agents, for hormones, and they produce these products for many, many years now. But now there's a huge change, and new chemical entities will be launched from Bergkamen side, will be produced here for market supply. So there is a huge transformation also here on our side. And that's so exciting times of changes now. So they really try out new digitalization projects. They just use our site as a test version maybe for others, and that's really exciting to see and to work with. Yeah.
What do the other colleagues think about this experiment and the piloting?
Yeah, well, you're the first one to try new digitalization projects. That's really cool, because if it works out, it's very good for our site, and we are a role model for others, and that's a huge chance. So everyone is really excited about it. And of course, the new chemical entities, which will be produced also here in Bergkamen, this is a great sign for the future, just to see we are still here. It's not just the traditional products, which maybe will fade out in a few years. No, we're still here. We have new chemical entities now produced here. So the market supply and the launch will be started here. And that's a great thing for Bergkamen, of course. Yeah.
It's a great investment also into Germany as such, and we're not divesting or not putting our investments into, I don't know, China or somewhere in Asia, but we're really investing also in the location in Germany. Yeah. Really good for us in Germany, I must say. Is there anything that you would like to know from me working in the headquarter, or is there anything you would like to know how things are done here in Leverkusen?
Yeah, some people say, oh yeah, these people in the headquarters, they don't really know how our daily life looks like. So I would like to know, have you ever worked with an operational field, or have you ever been in these global oversight functions?
So most of the colleagues, or I would say 100% of the colleagues, except for myself, worked in the local functions before. So if you want to join the global team, you must have worked on a local basis before to know how are things done at Bayer, how does a production site look like. You need to know the processes and understand also the needs and concerns of a production site. So this is really one of the requirements. I'm a really bad example. I was recruited by Bayer for my really experience in training, in knowledge management, in communication. And for this, I don't need to work to have worked in a production site. We are very well aware that most people think, oh my God, these people there in the local and the global function, they have no clue what we're going through here. Yes, we do, as most of us have worked at a site before, And for many, many, many years, it's this global outlook. And we have to consider not only one site, but all the more than 50 sites with all the very different requirements. And we're working or screening all the global regulations from all the different authorities. So streamlining or setting standards for more than 50 sites, it's a huge task and a huge challenge. So you cannot really get into too much detail, but you have to deliver, some kind of standard. So that's why it might look as if we have no clue what's going on locally. As I said, we need to know what's going on, but then streamline it among and harmonize it for all sites.
Yes, that's true. For harmonization, also network is the clue, I think, and is just key to talk to every site, to get contacts with every site, and just to understand their problems. And I think that's really the great thing about your work then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, having this connection with everyone is fantastic. It gives so many insights, so many inputs. And then on the other side, it's hard and it's a huge challenge to find a good middle way, I would say. And it's almost impossible to please everyone. At some point, you need to make a decision that, okay, for this site, it might not work, it might not be the best, sorry, but there are 49 other sites that prefer this way. Carol, thank you so much for your time and for this really lovely talk. And I'm happy that I also expanded my network now to someone from back home. And it was a great pleasure to meet you.
Thank you also, Sabine, very much. It was a nice talk, and I hope we meet in real sometime.
We will for sure. Have a great day.
Bye.